When you think of Jodie Foster, your mind probably jumps straight to incredible actress. And you're not wrong, but that's really just scratching the surface. What we're going to dig into here is the story of the architect behind the actress, a true pioneer who consciously and yes, sometimes painfully, built this life of incredible integrity, all while living in the glare of the public spotlight.
Okay, so this quote right here, it's not just a clever line, it's basically the key to her whole philosophy. It's this raw, unfiltered look at reality. And that commitment to facing the hard truths head-on, well, that's what has defined her entire life, both on and off the screen. Let's break down how.
So first, let's look at her work, because once you see this pattern, you really can't unsee it. A powerful, consistent character emerges in almost all her major roles. It's always this intelligent, often isolated woman, standing her ground against a world that just doesn't get her.
Which brings up a huge question. Why this specific character, again and again and again? I mean, is that just a coincidence, or was it a deliberate, conscious choice? The answer to that question pretty much reveals everything about her mission, not just as an artist, but as a woman making her way through Hollywood.
And look, the pattern is just undeniable. Think about it. From a victim who refuses to be silenced in The Accused, to Clarice Starling, an agent navigating a seriously hostile, male-dominated FBI. Then she's a scientist battling pure skepticism in Contact, a mother fighting a whole system that's telling her she's insane in Flight Plan, and now a hardened detective in True Detective. The jobs change, the stories change, but the core DNA, it's exactly the same. A resilient woman, totally alone, fighting against impossible odds.
And yeah, this was absolutely not an accident. She had zero interest in just being an accessory to some male lead. In her own words, she didn't want to be the sister of, the mother of, the wife of. No way. She was grabbing the narrative for herself, demanding to be the hero of her own story and doing it completely on her own terms.
So where does this fierce, almost radical independence come from? Well, to really get the daughter, you have to get to know the mother, who was, without a doubt, the most influential person in her entire life.
So, her mother, Brandy, was born way back in 1928, long before the feminist movement really kicked off. Brandy herself was fascinated with the idea of female survival, of women making it on their own, but she never really got the chance to do it herself. So what did she do? She poured all those ambitions into Jodie. Her mom's dream of seeing a woman survive on her own became Jodie's real-life mission to be seen for her brain, not just her looks. So in a lot of ways, her early career wasn't just her story. It was her mother's too.
But here's the thing. Playing a survivor on screen is one thing. Actually becoming one in real life, that is a whole different ballgame, especially when your entire life is lived under the crushing weight of fame.
I mean, just try to wrap your head around this timeline. She was famous at 3 years old. Then she becomes the unwilling center of an obsessive crime that leads to an assassination attempt on a U.S. president. Add to that decades of media harassment and a complete and total invasion of her privacy. That guarded nature she has, that's not a personality quirk. It was a shield she had to build. It was a survival mechanism forged under absolutely unimaginable pressure.
So how in the world did she hold on to her integrity through all of that? Well, it wasn't just about the roles she took, it was just as much about the ones she said no to. She deliberately turned down being, the girlfriend of Tom Cruise or joining the Brat Pack. She actively rejected the chaos of mainstream stardom because she knew exactly who she was and how she wanted to live. Now that is true strength.
Okay, so that brings us to today, into what feels like the final and maybe most personal chapter of her story. It's this journey to bring together two really powerful and sometimes clashing sides of her own personality.
She actually said it best herself. This has been the story of her life. That powerful intellect that her mother pushed for, the part of her that demanded to be seen for her brain, was often at war with her emotional side. And she calls the process of healing those two forces, of reconciling them, both beautiful and painful. It's this incredible journey away from being the solitary hero and toward becoming a more integrated, vulnerable, and complete person.
And all of this leaves us with a really big question for our own time. Jodie Foster fought like hell to build an authentic life back in the era of paparazzi and tabloids. But as she puts it, what about now, in the selfie generation, where everyone has a camera in their pocket and the pressure to perform for the public is constant? Her story of survival isn't just some Hollywood history lesson. It's a masterclass in authenticity that kind of forces us all to ask, in a world that demands we show everything, how do we protect the parts of us that are actually real?